Most founders think financial modelling is just a spreadsheet exercise, a compliance task they'll deal with later. But here's the truth. Investors don't fund your idea, they fund your logic. In this episode, we'll show you how your numbers tell the real story, where ambition meets reality and where credibility is either built or broken. You'll learn how to prove your control over cash, capital and growth, and how to model your red ink so investors actually trust you. Stick around because we're joined by Mike Avey of Pachira Capital, and with his expertise in this space, by the end of this episode, you'll why your financial model isn't just math, it's your blueprint for survival and scale. Let's go. Mike, welcome to that Product Market Fit Guy podcast. It's a real pleasure having you here to help startups, founders and innovators to learn about financial modelling.
Great to be here, Trevor, and I'm really ashamed to tell you that I don't have any green jelly beans with me.
Well, that's all right. I've got plenty of them back up here, Mike. They're always there, so good point. Mike, before we get into the content, could you just tell us a little bit about Pachira Capital and what you actually do?
That's a very embarrassing question. So Pachira Capital has been around for probably nearly 16 years now. The word capital came because myself and another three founders wanted to start a venture capital fund, but we ran into a thing called the GFC and that killed it. So now I introduce myself as I'm from Pachira Capital. I don't have any.
But you help the founders get their financial modelling right, that's for sure.
Yeah, very definitely. My background was very much in tech, but I discovered quite a few years ago that if you haven't got your finger on the financial pulse, you aren't going to get very far.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. A lot of founders treat financial modelling as a compliance chore. Why do you think it's actually vital for a startup success, Mike?
That really because it's not just a spreadsheet. It's the way you put your business logic into numbers. It shows investors how you think, where you're disciplined, and whether you understand how your idea survives contact with reality, the old business plan meeting a punch in the nose trick. So a good model tells the story of how ambition turns into execution and how execution turns into cash flow.
So what exactly should a startup's model prove to an investor? And for that matter, even if they are not raising funds right now, why should it matter to them, the startup?
First of all, a financial model is actually not your business plan, but it really does inform the plan. And it shows that you are in control of costs, cash and capital. So it's not about predicting the future. It's about showing how your business behaves under different conditions.
Yeah. So, and I think that's an important point, Mike, because when you're pre-commercialized or even just in the early stages, actually predicting sales and all that sort of thing is a pretty tough thing to do.
Exactly. And what I talk about then is the cash need. I use length and depth of the red ink. So the length is how long it takes before the business funds itself, and you measure that in months or years. And depth is the maximum red ink, the deepest point of negative cash flow before you actually go on that wonderful hockey stick up.
Yeah, okay.
One of the big keys is to model on unfunded cash flow. You don't assume any investor money until it's actually in the bank. And when you know both the length and depth of the trough, investors can see behind the logic or how you've got staged or tranched funding.
That makes a lot of sense, Mike. And I guess, by seeing that, depth, investors can actually start to see what it's actually going to take at the deepest sort of stage.
Yes, yeah. The truth about cash risk is that being truthful about cash risk, I should say, earns far more respect than optimistic projections. The other thing is, as you hit milestones, risk declines, your valuation will rise. So you can see those sort of things modeled as well.
Yeah, yeah. And there's sort of an inverse relationship there between the risk and the valuation then.
Yes, definitely. We'll get to that a wee bit later.
Yeah, excellent. Look forward to that. So I guess the next thing is for the investors, they often complain that startups models are either too simple or they're way too complicated. What do they actually want to see, Mike?
Really simply, three things: clarity, logic, and cohesion.
Okay.
Clarity means the model's structure and assumptions are transparent. There's no black box formulas. You really should have all your assumptions out for somebody to look at. Logic means your numbers make sense and tie directly to your business strategy, what I was saying, where the numbers meet your plan. And cohesion means the story you tell in your pitch deck matches the economics in your spreadsheet. What really impresses experienced investors is what I'd call cash realism. They want to see that you understand when and how the money moves, that you've modeled CapEx accurately, and that you grasp supply chain timing, inventory cycles, deposits, payment lags, all those things that distort cash flow. If you can explain that to an investor, you're actually showing him that you've got some financial maturity.
That's terrific advice.
Financial model, the main thing then is probably just the actual financial projections themselves,
Yes.
where you're actually
Yes.
putting the numbers behind the story.
Let's get into the metrics. What should founders always have at their fingertips?
Um, I think there are 10 key metrics. If you go off to AI or ChatGPT or somebody, you'll probably get a list as long as your arm. But
Yeah.
the ones I think that are most key are MRR, which is your monthly recurring revenue, your CAC, customer acquisition cost, LTV, lifetime value, your gross margin, definitely, your churn rate, how often you're losing customers or recovering them, burn rate, how you're actually cash is burning, which while you're not earning revenue is pretty key.
Yes.
Runway, which is the cash burn rate, your survival time before you get your funding in. Free cash flow, that's what I was talking about, the unfunded cash flow, operating cash,
Yes.
minus CapEx if you've got it. It's a true sustainability measure. Cash depth,
Interesting.
the maximum red ink, of course, and valuation progression, how value increases as your milestones are achieved. I'd throw another one in there, and that is unit metrics, especially if you are manufacturing something. What does each unit actually cost, and how much are you getting back? So it's a little P&L for each unit, and it's quite something that a lot of founders don't actually think about, but it's something
Yeah.
investors definitely do.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting, Mike. So I guess metrics like cash depth and valuation progression are really important as growth figures.
Yeah, and you when you're raising capital, you don't go out and ask for the whole lot all in one big bang, uh, because your valuation will be horrible. So you
Yes.
want your valuation to increase as you move along.
And so I guess from that perspective, Mike, you that depth figure is really important to know what's just enough to get us through, maybe a little bit of contingency in there, but
Definitely,
not to give away too much of the farm before your valuation really gets to take off.
exactly. And
Yeah,
the other thing
brilliant.
is that as you move along, you can update your model, put in the things that you're learning as you're going, so it becomes more and more of a realistic model.
Yeah, yeah. I know I've seen many founders make their financial models and try and explain to them in very complex sort of ways. But what are some of the mistakes that founders make most often when they're actually presenting their models, Mike?
From where I sit, the three are over precision, over complication, and overconfidence.
Oh wow,
Uh,
everything's over.
over,
So
yep,
over precision, Can you just explain what you mean by that?
It's when you project revenue to the cent 3 years out. It's just ridiculous. I mean, you're a startup, you've got no history to base this on. You should round your numbers to at least the nearest 1,000, probably depending on how much revenue you're going in for, maybe even more than that.
And overcomplication? I mean,
Yeah.
some of these models are, what they're doing can be very complex and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But what would be your advice in how to just keep it simple but still effective?
Really keeping the number of tabs in your spreadsheet down to a realistic number. So you might just have your assumptions, your workings, and the output tables, profit loss balance sheet, those sorts of things.
Yes.
And what I said earlier about complicating formulas or building like what I would call hardwiring numbers into a spreadsheet. You should never have anything that is actually a variable that isn't actually visible as an assumption or a variable.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
That's a really good tip. And what do you see in the overconfidence part?
It's an interesting one because you'll find that the community that mentors and coaches, startups will say you've got to be confident, you've got to really know how to tap dance. But what you're really trying to do is show investors exactly what you need, and when you need it.
Yeah.
They'll come back with questions like, what if CapEx arrives earlier than planned? Or how do supplier delays affect cash? All those sort of questions aren't trying to catch you out. They're actually testing to see whether you've really thought through your cash dynamics.
Yeah. And all the scenarios.
Yep.
Very good. So, Mike, as you know, this is a product market fit guy podcast.
Yes.
A lot of people might wonder, what are we doing here talking about financial modeling? How does that work in with product market fit? What would be your response of how financial modeling actually connects to product market fit?
So product market fit is when customers start pulling your product faster than you can push it. And that pull shows up in your numbers. So again, you're revising these numbers all the time, and you should be able to see a curve and where you think you are on the curve, and if you're ahead or behind of it. Just a little aside there, never ever project a straight linear progression. It's always a curve.
It's not the real world, is it, Mike?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let's start talking about the valuations. The one topic that always stirs a lot of anxiety. How should founders think about it?
Again, there's a million formulas, and AI will probably give you a whole bunch of them. The thing that I generally rely on is what's called the VC method. Its valuation is really structured logic, and the VC method is the most practical approach.
Right.
In simple terms, what are you going to be worth in 5 years, right? And then
Yep.
apply a target return multiple. So this is thinking like an investor. You'd want,
Yes.
say, 10 times return on your money. So
Yes.
you divide your exit value by that multiple, and that gives you today's post-money valuation. So if your potential exit value is 100 million and the investor's target return is 10 times, the post-money valuation today would be approximately 10 million. Make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what happens when you get that number?
It isn't the end, because after you've got that, you need to actually apply some discounts. If you don't, the investors will. The first one will be a discount for risk.
Yes.
They will look at execution, market, and team risk. And investors will ask you directly, what risks have you identified and how will you mitigate them? And if you can't answer that confidently, your valuation will be discounted automatically. Then,
And is there a range, Mike, of sort of what sort of discount ranges they apply to that, or is it's all very relevant to what your risks are?
Um, before we get into that, I'll add another one.
Yeah,
Investors will also probably apply a discount for dilution, so that if they're coming in at a very early stage, uh, they're going to know that somebody else is going to follow on, not
yes,
necessarily them. That's going to discount them. So
and
you've
dilute
got
them.
this two-tier system going where you've got discounting for risk and discounting for dilution. A possible number I would think would be probably the lowest would be about a 25% discount.
That's interesting.
Up to 35, 50%, depending upon all the factors.
Yeah. So this is something that our viewers, really need to be conscious about, make sure they're getting the right advice about. So that's really good advice to pass on, Mike. So the bottom line is valuation, it's not just math. It's actually a risk conversion.
Absolutely, yeah. The
Yeah.
VC method gives you a great framework. Investors refine it by judging how much risk remains and how much dilution lies ahead. So as you
Yeah.
hit your milestones and de-risk the business, the discount narrows and your valuation rises. And that's the reward for real progress.
Yeah. That's the exciting part about it. So
Yep.
I guess, the question would be, Mike, why shouldn't founders use NPV, net present value, or discounted cash flows?
Because startups don't have stable, predictable cash flows. They're not, they don't have a great history behind them. DCF assumes precision that doesn't exist. It treats your
Yes.
startup like a factory, not an evolving experiment. And
Yes.
investors run away from that because it shows you don't understand venture economics.
Yeah.
That
And I think
valuation.
that's the
Yep, sorry.
no, I was just going to say, Mike, that your word there, that it is an experiment, and that's what innovation is all about. Until
Absolutely.
that product market fit can be validated,
Yep.
and you get that consistent, growth. So what would be the one takeaway you'd leave founders with about modeling?
Um, just go back to what I said earlier, build your model on unfunded cash flow. Um,
Yes.
be brutally honest about that red ink, both its length and its depth. And then let your valuation grow as your business, only as your business earns it. Um, Financial modelling isn't about convincing investors to believe in your story. It's about proving you understand it yourself. And that's really
Yep.
what turns the numbers into trust.
Yeah. What excellent advice, Mike. For a topic that a lot of people put aside, but is so actual critical, not only to attracting investors, but for your own benefit to know and understand what that cash flow, movements are going to be like. It's been a really valuable lesson.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah,
And
no, it
yep,
has. It's been really good, Mike. Your experience in this area, and it's not something that is widely taught in the innovation space,
mm,
but it is so critical. I guess the point about not being afraid to show the red ink was something that really, was something I took on board, because that's actually the reality, and you'll be
exactly.
respected for it. You
Yep,
know.
yep.
So keeping your financial model clear, logic, and cohesive, and the valuation methods, all extremely valuable tips. Thanks for coming on to the podcast, Mike, and sharing your insights. It's been wonderful.
Real pleasure, Trevor. Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's been a real pleasure. But before you head off, if someone did want to get in touch with you, Mike, what's the best way that they can reach out to you if they need this sort of help?
Um, they should come back through you, of course. I'm more than happy to
Yes.
do that. They can send me an email, which is just mike.avey@pachiracapital.com.
Excellent. Awesome, Mike. Well, we'll make sure that we put those in the description of the podcast, the episode?
Yes.
All right, then. We'll have a chat about that and make sure that everyone can get hold of you.
Yeah.
So, for the viewers, remember, a financial model isn't built to impress investors. It's built to prove you understand your own business. Model honestly. Show your trough, the length and depth of your red ink, then earn your valuation through progress, not optimism. If this has helped you shift about how you think about financial modeling, hit subscribe. Tell us in the comments what's one thing your model could reveal if you stopped using it just for compliance and started using it for confidence. My name's Trevor Holmes. I'm the host of That Product Market Fit Guy. See you in the next episode. Ciao for now.